And welcome to this webinar. I am absolutely delighted to guide you through this 90 minutes almost journey into the realm of relationships for a deeper understanding on how that stuff, call it love and relationships, work. We're about to start. And welcome and great that you are showing up today at this webinar. Because showing up is probably the most important thing in any area of our lives, but especially at this one. You know, if you showed up today, probably we have 1, 2, 3 things in common. We know this is an important stuff where we need to grow and stretch and invest in. Love and relationships, unfortunately, do not go by themselves. You know, you're ready to learn, you're ready to stretch, and you're conscious that everything that grows and flourishes needs its proper watering and amount of sunshine. You're probably here because you want to learn how to shape and enjoy your ultimate, intimate relationship in a safe way. And you want to gain clarity, or you're in enough pain and it's all or nothing. You know, showing up is perhaps the most important step towards the relationship you long for. Let me tell you what we're going to learn in this 1 hour and a half. First, we're going to go and visit crisis, frustrations, and pain. Like, what is crisis? Crisis is our biggest opportunity to grow, not a bad thing. If we learn that, if we could embrace crisis as an opportunity and not something we are scared from, it could transform your relationship, really, as it did mine. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. We're gonna discover also the 7 phases relationships travel to. We are also going to go to the 3 most important pillars relationships are built on, and which are those. And we're going to cover the 2 surviving strategies we put on when we feel disconnected from our partners. At the end, I want to present you an online step-by-step program with a special offer. And I'm going to be delighted to answer your questions at the very end. There is going to be time for a Q&A. Now, there is a chat function, and I'm here with my team. My team is ready for you. If there are things which you need to ask, please keep them for the very end. I thrive on interaction, so I'm going to oftenly ask you to use the chat function. Please do. And if you're ready to start, give me a yes in the chat. That would be great to see, to hear from you, and to get and rock that webinar. Let me see this chat. Yes, wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Wonderful. Great. Yes, I'm absolutely ready to do that too. Thank you for your interaction. That's very, very good. We've also prepared a workbook for you. I hope you have downloaded it. If you haven't, please do, or just grab a pen and a paper, because what I'm going to share here are important stuff. And it's been proven, research shows that when we listen only, we remember around 13% only, 13% only. By writing down, we activate another part of our brain, which keeps information, and you would remember around 45% of what is being said. And the good thing is you can always read it back afterwards. So you really want to jot down things when I'm talking here. So I would like to hear from you, and I would really, really want to ask you one question. Why did you come? Why did you show up? What is your intention for this masterclass? What is the one thing which if I speak about it, it could save the problems you have right now? What are the things, if I would have a magic, wound, what are the things you would like to see and feel in your relationship? What are the things which you long for? Is this more clarity? Is this more safety? Is this feeling connected again, feeling the passion again together. What would that thing be? If you have your workbook, it's nice to have a minute to write it down in your workbook. And of course, I would like to invite you to share it with me in the chat. And because from all people, probably I know the best that this is an area of our life where we have built the most taboos on, and it's a vulnerable area. And that's why there is a function in the chat where you can send me private messages or in the public chat. It's all good. Feel safe, feel free to share. I'm looking forward. You have 1 minute to write your intention for this beautiful masterclass. I'm reading your messages and it's really beautiful. We talk about connection, how to gain intimacy, how to make it for 15 years more together. Connection again after an affair. Very beautiful and strong topics. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for opening up and thank you for sharing this with me. It's absolutely appreciated. I hope I'm going to touch on most of the things you've mentioned here so you gain more clarity and understanding on how relationships works and why we have relationships at all and why they are painful at times. So a little bit about me. My name is Emanuela Deyanova. Um, my mission here is to really, through my knowledge, through my I'm actually an experienced expert. I've been through quite of a challenges in my own relationships and the relationship with my partner. I am engaged, trying already for a third time to get married to this guy, but because of Corona, we had to postpone already 3 times. We have 3 children together. There are 2 of the pictures you see. One was not there with us on our holiday. This is my bonus child, which is the daughter of David. I'm also the founder of the School of Love platform, a platform where I teach couples how to grow, how to shape, and how to rock their relationships. And my mission is pretty bold. I would like to create world peace one couple at the time, one couple at a time. And my mission is really to help you get the relationship you long for, in which you feel alive, connected, and appreciated. I was born in Bulgaria, East Europe. I traveled through Spain, through the Netherlands. I speak 4 languages, and I'm actually an adventurous traveler in the realms of the physical realms and also in relationships. And my first adventure actually started when I was very little. I was born in an average family in Bulgaria, and I think you see this picture of my parents, which are signing a contract of being married. I'm happy that this picture exists because this is the only proof that they were ever together. My parents divorced before I was one, and actually I never saw them together. And then my mom had 5 more marriages and 5 divorces. So the things I've learned as child is that actually love and relationships are a pretty hard thing. And my mom is really my best example in the planet on how to be brave, on how to set things, on how to create, but really my worst example on how relationships works. Because when I was little, I saw things which not child should see. And there were dangerous moments. And I remember when I was little, I, I made myself a promise. If I ever create a family and ever am blessed to have children, I don't know how many of you have children, please say yes in the chat. I promised myself to do everything I could to keep them safe and to give them the space to grow of a loving environment. Let's see this chat. So, and then life went on. I grew up. I had my first boyfriend. It was a disaster. I had my second boyfriend, a third boyfriend. It was disaster after disaster. After all, relationships were not as easy as I thought. You know, it was very easy as a child to say, "Mom, you shouldn't have done that." But once you're dating or you're in a relationship, you actually realize this is stuff which is I couldn't navigate very easily. Until one day when I met this guy. This is the man of my life, I thought. I used to live in Barcelona when we met. This is the most amazing man I've ever could imagine even existed. He was confident and interesting and sharp, and he was different somehow. I knew this guy must be different than all the others. And this would be the father of my children, I thought. And yet with the years, we got together. We eventually decided to go for a relationship. I moved from Barcelona all the way to Amsterdam for him. And life went on. And like in every long-term relationship, at least relationships above 2 years, then life kicked in. We had our first frustrations. We had our first other priorities than being with each other. He was building a company. I was moving in a land which I knew nobody. So I had to really overcome quite some difficulties. And with the time, we started growing more and more apart. And we landed, unfortunately, in a very painful and ugly and even hopeless breakup. No one believed that we would ever make it together again. And the worst thing of all that is that I already had children with this beautiful man, and I failed to keep the very promise I gave myself. I failed to give my children the safe base, the safe haven I was myself longing for when I was a child. So, in this desperate, hellish place, we thought one thing is for sure. We need to figure out what was the mistake we committed. What were the things we did to meet and to create such a crisis? And we decided to go to therapy. I read every book on this planet, every course, every therapist, we traveled internationally. We paid tons of money to meet good therapists because we wanted to learn what were the patterns we've created which brought us to this breakup, because we didn't want to repeat them again in our next relationships. Both of us had already long-term relationships beforehand, and they ended up unpleasantly. And now we were conscious, if we don't learn the lesson here, it would repeat itself over and over and over again. But what happened was the most unexpected thing. Well, nobody expected it. We went on therapy and we realized that he or she was not the problem, but the pattern within us and the understanding and not talking our truth, not speaking our truth, were the biggest roots of the problem between us. And so we came back together. It was a miracle. We came back together, and this crisis actually became my biggest fuel. And so I wrote a book about it, where I shared everything through the beginning to the end, like my learning journey and how that stuff worked. I really made it my mission. And I was wondering why nobody taught me this stuff before. If we knew how love works, we would never have to go through hell. It was my biggest pain, and I transformed it into my biggest passion. I also was asked from people, hey, how you did it, where you did it, what were the exercises you did, what were the techniques you did. So I started gathering friends, I started gathering circles, I started speaking up. So people started calling me from friends, from a friend, from a friend, from a friend. So all of a sudden, I was kind of drawn, it picked me. I had to create a program, and I did. I created my first online program, the Love Quest, which then expanded into live events too. And in the meantime, my book was selling more and more rapidly. Right now, it's been translated into 4 languages and published already in 2, which is amazing. Things grow even bigger, beyond my imagination. I was invited to speak in one of the biggest events on the world's Superlatie Weekend here in Holland, in the biggest concert halls, Ziggo Dome, in front of 5,000 people, in front of 4,000 people. Several times we did this event, largest event on relationships worldwide. And it was astonishing to see how many people struggle in this realm of life. I was not alone. Me and David were not the only couple who didn't know how these things worked. Today I have my practice here in Amsterdam. I'm a licensed therapist and it's fully booked. That's why I wrote a book and I created this online seminar, so these words and knowledge can spread to as many people and couples who really need to know how this stuff works. And this is why we're here. I want to show you that love is not a mystery. Love is a mastery. I want to show you that amazing relationships are not only for the few lucky ones, but for everyone who is willing to work. And I will give you some breakthrough insights here, eye-openers, and as well as practical tools you can apply right away. So why do we have relationships? In the past, marriage was a sanctuary, really a security pack, an economical institution. We had as many children as possible because we knew few won't make it. We stayed together so we knew who the cows, the crops, and the land is from. Today, relationships are a romantic adventure. We expect from our partner to provide really what once a whole village did. We expect them to be our best friends, ever attractive, confident, interesting, a good parent, a good provider, an amazing lovers, and that they're always there for us because we are the chosen one. What we don't know, though, is that before, the average lifespan was between 45 to 55 years old, max. And today we live at twice as long. So it is a challenge to have a happy conscious, expanding love relationships. And we are born actually with two human basic needs: the need of connection and the need of adventure. And both needs are contradictory, and both needs to be met in our relationships. You know, love and connection and the need of security, the need of dependability, of closeness, of certainty, of knowing that you're there for me, of knowing that I can trust you. But on the other hand, the need of adventure, the need of being selfish, the need of novelty, of the uncertainty, of the desire, of the autonomy, the need of discovery. So we ask our partner, on one hand, to be the waves, the adventure for us, and on the other hand, the anchor, and to be there for us at all time. So it's like relationship has become like a balancing rope. If it's too tight, you fall. If it's too loose, you fall. And here in the West, we live twice, if not 3 or 4 times as fast as in the past. Research shows that we actually spend with our loved ones 7 minutes maximum a day. I'm not talking about quality time here. 7 minutes a day. No wonder that divorce has become a pandemic. Only in Holland, each year, there are 70,000 children who hear their parents are getting a divorce. 70,000 children. Children like me. I don't know how many people have been touched of divorce. For the people who are watching, you can maybe send in the chat if you have ever been divorced yourself, if your parents are divorced, if you had lended a hand or a shoulder to a friend who has been through divorce. This is one of the most difficult and hard times in our lives. Saying goodbye to the person once you so much loved. And the good thing is, I'm checking the chat. Yes, look at that. Yeah, my parents. Yeah, I did. No, thanks God. Yes. It is really a pandemic, and the good news is it's not your fault. Really, it's not your fault. Nobody teaches that stuff. Nobody teaches us how. You know, we don't learn that at school. Love and relationships are probably the most important area of our life. Yet there are no manuals of how love works, how to deal with rejection, how to build connection, what rekindles the passion and desire over and over again. And can you name 1 or 2 examples of relationships where you look up to, which inspire you? You know, these are the example people for me where I can go to for advice. And how about the example of your parents? Did they inspire you how to or how not to? Please give me a yes or a no in the chat. How yes, they inspire me how love works, or yes, no, they didn't inspire me. I learned how not to. Yes, no, wow, look at the chat. No. So maybe even you want to write this in your workbook. Were my parents and who are the people who inspire me? Unfortunately, there are very little examples of how love relationships work. And your relationship can fail without any of you doing anything wrong, really. Because love is a verb. Love is a skill practiced daily. To really integer and good people can fall in the trap of we just grew apart. You know, we're different. Our cultures are different. I grew and further I expanded. He didn't. She changed too much. I never changed. He never changed. So I would like to ask you to imagine. Imagine that we have cracked the code of love and that we understand how it works. That it's not a power just comes and overwhelms us. But it's a skill, which puts us on the driver's seat. Imagine how would you feel if you're deeply connected in a loving relationship where you can be yourself, where you feel alive, inspired, cherished, seen, connected. How would it feel if everyone could thrive instead of survive in our relationships? And this is the thing I want to give you in this masterclass. I want to teach you how to thrive and how not to survive. Give me a yes in the chat if you're ready. Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Wonderful. I'm ready too. So the first step is showing up. And that's the very good thing because you're here. Most of the people are not here, but you showed up because you know how important that is. And that means that you're committed. You're committed to grow. You're committed to learn. And commitment is sometimes being ready to cost you something, to overcome our boundaries, to overcome our comfort zone. And this is wonderful because you are showing up for your relationship. And the first thing I want to teach you today, our first step would be, and you can find it also in your workbook, is that relationships are not linear and that they travel through 7 different stages: romantic, status quo, crisis, transformation, self-work, doing the work, and real love. And I'm going to go through 3 of these stages because if we go through all 7, we are here quite some time. But I'm going to accentuate on the 3 most important ones. How does a romantic love starts? Through the romantic stage, of course. You meet the one. We are master lovers when we are in love. The only thing we don't know is that there is a small pitfall. We are not very conscious of how and what we do when we are in this stage. Things just happen to us. We feel mighty, we feel beautiful, we feel inspired because our bodies are really literally flushed from a cocktail of hormones like norepinephrine, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. These are feel-good hormones. You really think you're Superman or Superwoman, and you, by the way, just met Superman and Superwoman. You also know how to connect to each other. You share your deepest secrets probably with the person you never shared with anybody else. You dare to be vulnerable. You dare to spend time together. You make yourselves priority. But actually, nature glues us with the opposite side, with somebody which is very incompatible for us. And why would nature glue us with the very opposite of us? Because nature wants us to grow back into wholeness. And this is something I'm going to talk a little bit later, what I mean about that. Then we travel through status quo. Sorry. And the dream world makes place for the reality. There are always differences coming in the relationship. And in this phase, we see them clearer. The hormones leave our bodies and we wake up next to a normal human being and his or her negative traits are visible. You spend less time together, but you also discover that the Superman laying next to you in bed is just a normal person. And the little irritations start piling up. And everything which bothers you and you leave unspoken starts piling up too. Until we explode or implode. And everything which we leave unspoken, this is one of the most important things I want you to remember here. If we silence, I call it the silent divorce, we landed in crisis. Not always. The silent divorce is not always silent. Sometimes you storm a tornado, you know. But what is silent is your truth, your needs, your point of view, your freedom, and your desires. So, the most important thing when we landed with David in our crisis is that we first of all realized that the real enemy, it was not him, not her, but really the patterns which were storming around us, and that there was no space for us to talk to each other in a vulnerable way. We realized that for years we never really spoke to each other to what really mattered to us, because we were afraid to hurt the other, or we were afraid how he or she would react. I was afraid, to be honest, because of the reaction of my partner. He too, he was afraid that I'm going to blame him. So we piled up these frustrations, not knowing that they were really a big wall between us, invisible but very sensible. So we went through therapy, as I told you, and we discovered that crisis is our biggest opportunity for breakthrough, not a breakup. And that frustrations are postponed conversations, conversations which supposed to happen earlier, and that we needed time to really open up and being emotionally naked again with each other. We realized that conflict is really growth trying to happen. We learned to speak the unspoken and take brick by brick the wall between us, no matter how painful some conversation had to be. The other thing we really invested in the stormy time of the crisis was we had to focus on the positive things which we've learned in the romantic stage. What were the things which we did back then and we completely forgotten because we were so busy with our daily routine, domestic life, surviving really. So we also decided to date again and made that a priority in our calendar. That bonded us in a way that we actually didn't know it was possible. Nobody from our friends thought we would ever be together ourselves, neither. So what we did is make this calendar in our agendas, and we filled it up with dates. And we landed in the last stage of the 7 stages, real love stage. The place which we didn't know existed. It was the most beautiful feeling of feeling in love together again, but now understanding, now being conscious how connection works, how intimacy works, how to open a space for safe conversations, how to share our desires, how to share our boundaries, how to be there for each other, but how not forget ourselves. So now I would like to ask you, which stage is your relationship right now in? Are you still in the beginning where romance has just blossomed? You know, the first stage is actually a short one, unfortunately. It's between 3 months to 18 months. These hormones flushes our bodies. Later on, the hormones go away and the real work starts. We shouldn't be afraid if we land up in crisis stage. This is only an opportunity to grow. This is what we tell each other now. When there is something painful in our relationship, we know that means growth is trying to happen. It's a wish in disguise. It's a conversation which has to take place. I would like you to write down in which stage you are. And actually, I want to immediately apply something and ask you to book in your agenda a date with your partner right away. He or she does not need to know. You just book it somewhere between now and the coming 2 months. It's a surprise date which you're gonna organize. in order to bring back the power of the romantic stage again in your relationship. You have 1 minute, 1 minute and a half for that, and I see you in a second. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing in the chat your stages. It's great to see that people are in transformation stage, in doing the work stage. That's really powerful. And I also want to challenge you to share with me before the end of this webinar your new date with your partner. Because if you do it now, you know it's going to happen. If it's not in our agenda, forget it is going to happen. It's been rarely a priority, at least in our relationship, until we realized we have to make it a priority. So please share this in the chat if you want. There is also private chat. I'm checking that one also. The second step I want to give you is that we oftenly think that love is everything we need in a relationship. Excuse me, that's the slide. Love is everything that we need in a relationship. And love is indeed one of the most important powers. Without love, no relationship. But there are two other pillars which relationships relies on. And this is the organizational one and intimacy. So love is this amazing feeling, maybe the most powerful and grateful feeling which our heart can feel. We're privileged if we experience love for another person. It's really what makes sense of life. But next to it, in order to have a good relationships, you need to have things organized. Without organization, it could be very messy, and mess can bring a lot of fights, a lot of arguments, a lot of frustration between us. So organization is actually the logistics part in your relationship, how things are organized, who takes the decisions, are we monogamous, are we open relationship, who's bringing the children to school, are we going to have children at all, who is cooking for dinner, who is paying the bills, important stuff which we rarely actually take the space to really talk about. Organization is the second pillar. Like on this chair, which has to balance on these three legs actually. The third one is intimacy. Of course, intimacy in relationship is as important as love. And intimacy includes sex, but it's not only sex. Intimacy is really intimacy. Do I really open up? Do I really dare to show you who I am? Do I really offer you the space to be who you are and to share this with me? Or do I judge right away? Is there a space for us to be intimate? Is there a space for desire? Is there a space for crossing really to the world of the other? Intimacy is also investing in yourself so you can connect and discover yourself through the other. So these are three important pillars of the love and relationship realm. Now imagine there are really these three-legged stool and you're sitting on it, but one is not really working. And I would like actually for you to rate your three areas. In your workbook, you can write it down too. From 0 to 10, how would you rate your intimacy? From 0 to 10, how much you give to your organization? And from 0 to 10, how much love do you experience right now in your relationship? Please write it down in your workbook and share with me the lowest rate, only the lowest rate. Share with me in the chat only the lowest rate. You have 1 minute to write down in your workbook how you rate the three pillars. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think it's so beautiful that you're vulnerably open and that I see quite some tools and 3 and intimacy 6, intimacy 3, intimacy 2, organization 7, which is a good rate. Quite some 2s and 3s. And that means only there is work to be done. There is information. We only can gain from it. But imagine if you sitting on this chair, call it relationship right now. Name your relationship and put it on a chair. And if you sit on this chair and your intimacy is a 2, you can balance on 2 legs for a while. But I'm telling you, it's gonna be painful with the time. You're gonna get muscle pain, and eventually you will fall. So it's really important to be aware where the most pain is and the most possible gain, the most possible stretch. Because I have a question for you. Where and how much actually would have cost you if that continues? Imagine you're 1 year from now and you are doing the same things you did until now, and your intimacy is still a 3 or a 2 or a 4. 1 year from now, doing the same things you did as you did until now. How much you would rate, how much you would give to your intimacy, actually. And 4 years from now, if nothing has changed, is it a 2 or is it a 1 or a 0? Is it a 4 or is already a 2? If we don't change things, they wouldn't go by themselves. We need to invest in them. And I would like to ask you, how would you rate your pillars, but how would you like it to be? How would you like it to be? What would be the ultimate 10 for you? How would that feel and look like? Who are you? If, imagine, your 3 pillars and intimacy is 10, and love is 10, and the organizational is 10. Who are you in this relationship then? How do you communicate with your partner? How does it feel? What kind of skills did you have to gain? What path? What books maybe? What are the things you had to learn to go and stretch to that 10? How this perfect relationship, like I call it, looks like. Real love, the real love stage. How does it look like? How does it feel for you? Maybe you want to write it down even, because it's important to know how that perfect relationship, and often we experience that in the very beginning. That's why nature glues us. I call it often the romantic stage. I call it the travel stage, because this is where we can travel for a little bit, see what we are capable of, and then life kicks in, and now we have to do the work in order to go back to it. But it's even more beautiful because after you did the work, you now know how. You're not incompatible. You're aware how. And so you can create real love over and over again. And what would it cost you not to be in that real love stage? And what is it worth it for you to feel this connection with your partner, to feel the peace between the two of you? How about your children? What is it worth for you to feel loved, accepted, cherished, appreciated, happy, alive, seen? Write down that in the chat. What is it worth it for you to have these feelings, this ultimate relationship, which is a 10, where you feel yourself, where you're not losing yourself in order to connect with the other? It's like this place of a love sanctuary. And what I want to tell you and remind you again, love is not a mystery. So you too can achieve that sanctuary. You can learn how love works, and wherever it is it costing you, you know it will be worth investing and learning that skills. Because me and David, we totally gave it up, my partner, until we learned the skills and we realized we were so wrong. There was so much more to discover. And I'm not against divorce, like I said in the beginning. Divorce is a pandemic. Divorce is a good thing for some people. I'm against unnecessary divorce. It's so important that we understand and learn that we can prevent so much pain, actually, and that this real love place really exists, and we are all deserving it, to find it, to shape it, and create it together. And that's why I want to invite you to our third step today. That's a very interesting place and very interesting way we communicate with each other. We call it the chimpanzee and the turtle. And actually, these are the two ways we protest against disconnection with our partner. Those are actually surviving strategy. The one is the pursuer, and the other one is withdrawer. So we often fight for the most unreasonable things. Like couples come to me, really, they fought for the dishwasher, or who didn't take the dog outside, who's gonna cook, who paid the bills last time, the tiki. The most small things turn into big fights. And we often believe actually that problems cause the lack of connection. But the lack of connection is the real problem. And you remember we had this primary need of connection and adventure. When our primary need of connection with our most important person, our loved partner, is not met, is not there, we protest. And we protest in these two ways. One of us becomes chimpanzees and the other one turtles. Let me explain. So the chimpanzees, I'm one, a good representative of a chimpanzee. We are the pursuers. When I pursue, I look for a response in my partner and acknowledgement, like some evidence that I matter in my partner's world. My ultimate goal is to get a response from him. In distressing situation, I'm pursuing, and that provides a way to stay connected, either positively or negatively. Although I look for the positive response from my partner, of course, any response is better than no response for us chimpanzees. I often think I'm invisible and my needs mean nothing. I think my feelings don't matter about my partner, whether I'm very sensitive. And when we are together, I often feel alone. Being actually left alone is the fear, the biggest fear, which keeps me pursuing. Even though I'm searching for closeness, I might seem hard to believe, as I usually get very big and angry and frustrated and outgoing. And unfortunately, while my intents are good for connection, the impact of my action is creating distance and disconnection, and the exact opposite of what I was needing. And when I react like this, I meet then the reaction of my partner, the turtle. Yes, David is a turtle. We're the perfect example. And turtles learned to withdraw. When there is a distress situation, where there is a frustration, I pursue and the turtle withdraws. And withdraws from showing vulnerability because in the past, turtles got hurt from it. Emotions are really difficult to manage for turtles, and therefore they often become more rational. They start thinking and overthinking and searching for solutions here. As the chimpanzee becomes more emotional, chimpanzee asks for connection through emotions, and it gets a rational response from the turtle, and they can't find each other. Internally, a turtle often thinks it's never good enough. Whatever I do, it's never good enough. I'm wondering how many of you are turtles already. And the essence of conflict is the fear to lose itself, and to lose the other. So the more I pursue, the more I'm starting and searching for connection, the more the turtle withdraws, my partner, the more he hides, the more he shuts down. The more he shuts down, the more I pursue and knock on his shell. The more I knock, the more he withdraws, the more he withdraws, the more I pursue. You get the picture. We're getting in a downward spiral. How many of you recognize this? Give me a yes in the chat. because it is a very common thing. Yes, yes, yes. We all know that one. And that's a pattern. You remember I was talking about patterns in the a little bit earlier? This is what we discovered with David. It was not really that my partner wanted to hurt me when he gets rational and when he gets away, like he really runs away when I get fiery, but because he is afraid and um, beating and trying to survive in his way, and me too, the disconnection. This is the biggest lesson, maybe from the whole webinar. The first thing is to really connect to each other and then find solution, and not search for solutions where we're in a fight, when we're in a surviving strategy. Excuse me. A surviving strategy is really a prison, because you are shutting off the connection possibility. Let me give you an example how this looks like. Just a second. Cheers, everybody. So I'm talking too much. But I want to give you an example how this works in our home, and I'm wondering if you would recognize something in it. So I remember it was like few years ago, I think 4 years ago, and it is tense time. Davis is setting up his company. I'm setting my company. I don't know how many of you are entrepreneurs here, but creating a company is having like a child. So we had already 3 children, and then we were busy with 2 more companies, and it was quite intense period. So we were trying to create these date moments for each other and really have quality time together. And I remember we agreed to have a beautiful dinner together with the children. And at dinner time was kind of the moment of connection, the moment where all the mess hopefully would stay at the front door, and we would connect, we would see the children, and we would have some quality, so needed quality time to nurture our relationship. Before I know, I cooked, I prepared, we are exhausted. This is an important parenthesis. And the children pick on a fight. Nasty fight. Vegetables are flying throughout the table. I am absolutely on, like a chimpanzee can be in 3 seconds, irritated, frustrated, and very fast, sharp, let's say. So I say 3 things to the children, and they don't even hear me. And then I look for help. Across the table sits my husband. And what do I see? I see this. He is behind his phone. He's texting. The turtle, yeah? Turtle is already withdrawn. So I'm like, David? And there is no response. He just doesn't hear me. He doesn't see the mess. Nothing happens in his world. So I'm like a little bit agitated. I feel like my volcano, like we call it at home, starts boiling, and I say, David, and there is no response. Because the turtle, what does the turtle do? He is saving the world, but he is actually absent from our table. So how does a chimpanzee, which is really frustrated, react? I go across the table. I lift myself. We have quite a big table. And I go and I grab the phone from his hands and I smash it on the table. I'm really not proud on these people. But I just want to show you the example how chimpanzees and turtle really, the pattern really hurts each other. So I see the big eyes of David, like he just woke up from a dream. Like he didn't know what's happened. The children are quiet. And what does a turtle do when it's attacked? He stands up and he leaves. And there it comes. My biggest pain was just met. What was the biggest pain of chimpanzee? Being left alone. That's why we protest. So I was like, really? You are leaving me with this mess? I'm going to fix that. So I put my sleeves up and I'm going downstairs because we have 2 floors. He ran downstairs into the safest place in our home, our toilet. And so I was decisive. I'm going to show him. And I'm walking downstairs and I'm boiling until 1, 2, 3 steps on these stairs. And I realize, Emanuela, you have to press the pause button. Remember, I am teaching this stuff and now I have to apply it. And it's difficult because I'm frustrated, because I have all the reasons and emotions in me boiling. I'm absolutely right in my world. And I yet had to overcome that and had to pause these symptoms and emotions and everything in me. The feeling of justice. And I'll show him. And I sat on the stairs. I really had to press the brake. And I sat on these stairs and I took a few deep breaths. And I was like, wait a second, what have just happened? And I started like scrolling back, like what happened? We wanted to have a beautiful dinner. Then there was a fight. Then I exploded in 3 words. That's what happened. But why I have exploded? So I asked myself the question, what was the story I told myself? What was the story I was telling myself on that table? The story was, this man just pretends that he doesn't hear me, that he doesn't see the mess around, and he leaves me alone to deal with that like small issue. I told you about the dishwasher, this is a small issue. Children fight. And then I felt alone. I first felt very frustrated on him, but actually, deep inside of me, if I would stay with this frustration and really feel what was the feeling behind the frustration, I was alone. And when I sat on these stairs, I remembered I had a flashback from my memory, from the place where I've learned about relationships. My home, my mom. I remember I connected this pain to a place which was not in the now, but like probably 35 years ago, when I was so often alone on the dinner table, because my mom had to feed 2 children and had many nights had to work. So I was alone. I was 5, 6, 7, alone almost every evening at the dinner table. And I realized that pain from that event back then has came to visit me on that dinner table because it's something I have to work on, not my partner. So I calmed myself down and I went, instead of bringing the fight further, I went for an apology. And actually I went for a conversation to see what happened in his world. How did he see the things from the other side of the table? Only to figure out that he was texting with his father, who had a problem with his heart. And he was indeed checked out. And so we had a conversation and felt really connected and sorry for what happened. But that was such a beautiful lesson. And I was so proud of myself to press the pause button. Write this pause button somewhere because you're going to need it. Now on you. In your workbook you can find. Tell me, are you the chimpanzee or the turtle? Give me a chimpanzee or a turtle in the chat, please. Let me see how many of us are there. And I would like to invite you. I'm going to give you a minute, yes. Oh, there we are, the chimpanzees and the turtles. Yeah, welcome to the club. Chimpanzees and turtles. It's a pattern. It's a surviving strategy. It's not that your partner is wanting to hurt you. It is that your partner doesn't know how to deal with their emotions which have been triggered. That's all. In your workbook, you will find the 3 sentences. When I got frustrated, what really happened? You really want to write the fact down. And when the story I told myself that he doesn't care, which was not true, he just really was involved in something really much more important than a fight of children and my screaming. And what do I felt? Yes, I felt frustrated, but what was underneath that feeling? I'll give you 1 minute to write that down in your workbook. See you in a minute. Welcome back. Yeah, I see your question. There are several questions about the different roles and a different man or woman being chimpanzee and a turtle. No, we can switch roles even. Now you can even be a turtle in your previous relationship and be a chimpanzee in this one. For example, my man is the turtle at home, but he is the absolute chimpanzee and gorilla even sometimes in his business. So you switch between these two polarities, but most of us have one preferred one, and especially when we're in a relationship, we take the stand for one of them. So you can have them both, and you can have different combinations. You can have turtle-turtle relationship, and that's you should be careful if you're turtle because in these relationships things get into this silent divorce, as I say. Things get unspoken because what chimpanzee does well, not handy but well, is keeps the connection, keeps the demand for connection. With turtle nobody demands connection. They're both rational. Chimpanzee combination. That's a fiery affair. That's two volcanoes exploding at the same time. There you have to really master the press button, the stop button. This is really, really important in order for this relationship to survive. So I would like to ask you actually to give me in the chat, what do you see in this slide? What is the thing you see in this slide? Except my face, of course. A spot. A spot, a black dot. Indeed, that's a black dot, a black spot. Yes. So, indeed, there is a black dot, but I actually want you to show you that there is this space around that black dot. And this space actually represents the many possibilities there are to create and live and shape the relationship you deserve. Because focus is power. If we focus only on the black dot, this is what we're going to get. If we only focus on the negative sides, on the frustrations, and the things which our partner is actually not handy at, this is what we're going to get. This black dot will become big. But if we focus on the positive characteristics of our partners, And if we learn to appreciate our differences, which is really stretching out of our comfort zone, but really rewarding, we would feel much more connection. The black dot are the two strategies we were just talking about. The white space around is the connection, the dating, building a romantic stage, being in real love, sharing compliments, sharing your gratitude. This is the space around. And I want to ask you, where is the focus right now in your relationship? Is it much more on the black dot? Do you make this grow? Or is it in the space around? And, the possibilities, the new skills, the thriving, the communication, all that is the space around. The energy, the ecstasy, connection, self-worth, self-connection. And oftenly, we think that love should go by itself. But love, like many things in life, needs effort. And you can compare it really, like you're going to work. I don't know how many of you have cars, but imagine you going to work today with your car. And you enter in your car and you see your gas tank is empty. And you think, okay, I'm going to sit here and hope that within an hour we can go. It's really hope without action is our last help. And thinking that love goes by itself is really that, hoping that things will change when the children are older, when I get my next job, when I lose 10 kilos, when we move to a bigger house. That's what I thought, really. When we move to a bigger house, I will have space in my head, and then we really connect with David. When the children are a little bit older, then we're going to have really enough time for each other. Believe me, it doesn't go by itself. And hope without action, the things will change. The more you offer the same action, the more you get the same result. And we had to put our effort to focus on this white space around and to fuel the white space around. Because if you're not investing in your relationship consciously and continuously, you're actually living it. There is no space in between. Or you're investing or you're living. At the moment you're not investing consciously, putting effort, like there is this law of aerodynamics, I think was Newton who found it. Every closed living system needs positive energy from the outside inside the system in order to survive. Otherwise, it would naturally decay. If you don't fill up the tank of your car and leave it unused for 10, 15, 20 years, what will happen? What will happen after 100 years? It will naturally decay. If we don't take care of things and if we don't put gas in our relationships, they won't work just by themselves. And what I want to I want to ask you right now, if you want to share with me in the chat, are you investing in your relationship? How consciously you are? Are you investing in your relationship? Give me a yes. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. The fact that you're here means that you're investing. Knowing that you're investing in your relationship, doing these webinars, reading books, really focus on the good things of your partner is investment, is making the white space bigger. And I want to tell you a secret. Also, good couples fight. Me and my partner, I am a therapist and I'm supposed to know this stuff. We do fight. Only the very difference is now that we repair very fast. And we are conscious, we are aware how to create safety so we can speak our truth. We are also willing to stretch and do self-inquiry. What is my part here? What is the thing it tells about me? Not blaming David that he's on his phone, but what was my feeling here? What was my pain, my true pain here? And the only person who can really give this love to me back is me. Doing self-inquiry and learning further. And oftenly we blame it on the circumstances, but it's not the circumstances, but our commitment here. And commitment and convenience do not sit on the same chair, really. They do not live on the same street, neither in the same neighborhood. It's gonna get inconvenient because your partner will stretch you. You met your opposite, remember? Will stretch you out of your comfort zone because there are things with you which left undeveloped when you were young, which you want to meet and develop now. So I invite you to choose to thrive instead of survive. And me too, I had to stretch far beyond my comfort zone and to learn the hard way about love. I have attended every seminar I could, paid thousands of euros for most expensive and prestigious therapists, all the courses there were, and I still do. Actually, me and my partner committed back then in our crash that we would always invest in our relationship and go to therapy. And still we go without having really a crisis. We still go to therapy and invest in different courses in order to keep and investing in our relationship. We became aware that at the moment that it's not in our agenda, it fades away, and that means that it decays. In order to prevent that, I just actually a few days ago called our therapist, and we have booked till next year, August, which is wonderful because we know there is a safe haven where we can, a safe outlet where we can speak our truth and be honest with each other. And because the air of love is where I've been also hurt the most, and I know how painful it is to lose somebody you love and maybe not forgive yourself for years. And because I also saw what real love is, and there was not going back really. Now I know that there is this place. I made it my mission to help everyone who crossed my path and who wants to. I want to share this knowledge I learned. And imagine how different really the world would look like if we all knew how these things works without blaming each other, but just understanding the patterns. You know, how great it would be if we were conscious, only know how not only to fall in love, but how to grow in love. And daring to work and overcome crisis and seeing crisis as an opportunity, not as something we were afraid of. How different the world will be if we knew how to deal with rejection, how to rekindle intimacy and desire, how to be really passionate with each other, no matter how long our relationship is, because this is a skill, people. It's learnable. How to speak our truth instead of silencing it. How important is that? How to set boundaries so we honor ourselves. How to meet each other's needs and stating them. Imagine that we had the knowledge. If everyone could thrive instead of survive in that area of life and find this stage of real love. I truly believe that everybody needs to have that knowledge. Probably you're asking yourself now, yes, nice, but how can I gain it? Do I also have to travel the world and go to every therapist there is? Well, no, I have set actually all my experience and knowledge in one place, which I want to share with you. And I call it the Love Quest course. And it's the place where all my experiences and knowledge on therapy has been piled up. And this is a skill. Once you go through this course, it's a skill you'll benefit all your life from. It's really like learning to bike. You never forget. In the beginning, you think, how am I going to balance on this strange thing? And then you never forget. You jump on a bike and you always can learn and use this skill. And imagine if you had this knowledge, if you understood how love works, if you could recognize your patterns, if you could connect in a deeper way and offer the space for your partner to be who he is, who she is, how would you feel? Would you feel more confident? Would you feel seen in such relationship? What was your 10? Would you feel cherished and loved? Attractive, alive, connected, safe, happy? And I would love to teach you everything you need to know on how to build real love in this little course. I would like to teach you in an easy, practical way with a lot of examples and proven strategies and no boring theories. And now you're probably asking yourself, yeah, but what is it, this course? How it looks like? Well, let me tell you a little bit about it. And in the end, I'm really looking forward to answer all your questions. It's a 6 modules course, and it's actually 6 weeks. Every module is a week. And the first module is teaching you how to reconnect back and go into this honeymoon phase, into this romantic phase. The second one is about safety and breaking patterns and restore the connection, and actually how to speak your truth and be vulnerable again. Module 3 is about communication and how to turn conflict into opportunity and growth. Module 4 is about intimacy and rekindling intimacy and desire. How to reignite the flame between us no matter how long we are together. Module 5 is about forgiveness and about investing in ourselves. How important, someone asked me, how can I create this love sanctuary, this amazing relationship, Emanuela? And I said, create it first with yourself. This is so important. And the last module is the vision, the creating of this love sanctuary, your pathway, your North Star together. This consists into 21 training videos with some couples examples, real couples, yes. Several guided meditations and visualizations. I have created also special meditations for couples, so you're going to do some together, some alone, if you like. You get a workbook for every module. And I think the most amazing thing is the community around. The things people share, the way people are opening up, the way people inspire each other. Believe me, environment is so important, especially on this topic, because it's the place where we have most taboos on. The place where we have rarely safe environment where to talk about these things. So community is a powerful, powerful tool here. This is how it looks like. It's you have it in an app and you can work from your computer. And you're probably thinking now, Emma, this must be really expensive. Yes, it is, because your relationship is really worth it. It usually costs 997 euros. But because I promised you a special offer, I really would like to give it for you for 247 only. And because we are talking about love here, this is not only per person, it's about you and your partner, including the VIT. It is per couple. Be mindful, this is only for this 24 hours. It's an offer which is especially for you because you've attended this masterclass. I want to honor you for staying so long with me. It includes 6 modules, 21 training videos, a workbook per module, meditations, and community. And because I really want you to transform your relationship and go through these stages in a safe way, I would like to offer you a bonus. My Wheel of Love date calendar. I specially designed that date calendar for couples to have a visual like in your face, because what I ask them to do is to print it and put it on the wall. It's a beautiful tool. And it's a place where you write about your dates. Some of you paint. I have such a beautiful examples already. But this is a visual. How often do we invest in our relationship? This is the white space, people. How often do we invest in our relationships? And you have different dates types, which I explained in this bonus. And you are invited. There is everything is explained. How often do you have to do them? What types of dates are, and what you actually want to achieve per date. It's a really mighty tool. Yeah, you can see I'm very proud of it. Then I would like to offer you a second bonus, which is our ebook, The 3 Golden Rules for an Amazing Relationship. You can start right away with reading and applying. And my third bonus, because you are here, I really would like to offer you. This is probably the best thing of the whole program. I'm offering you, if you subscribe today, a monthly Q&A with me. We're going to have a monthly Q&A. This program is 6 weeks, and you would have an access to it for 1 year. So you're going to have an access to 12 Q&As with me each month. So you will never, ever get stuck again in your relationship, or never without a place where you can ask and share. You get an immediate access if you subscribe, and of course you can do it on your own pace. This is our URL where you can go and see the program and figure out more about it. Of course, you're gonna receive an email, and you can click on the link there. This is how our website looks. And this is what some people say about it. Now, Iris said, it feels like the love quest really saved our relationships. Andrea and Esther said, her whole being radiates. Thank you about it. It's a bit interesting to read this about yourself. Her whole being radiates love and connection. And to say yes to Emma, loving magical guidance, is to say yes to entering a world of beyond feeling. And Sandra said, the Love Quest has given me the tools to rediscover my husband. I rediscovered my love for him in a completely different way. It also makes me want to re-examine intimacy again. I now feel safe and appreciated enough to want to go into this together. And the artist said, I cannot stress enough how good and inspiring the Love Quest is. The tools and the knowledge in this platform do work. They save my relationship. The guidance of Emanuela has been deeply transformational, not only for us as a couple, but also personally. I've experienced it as life-changing evolution. Thank you. If you want to join us, this is the URL. Please copy it, go to it, see your email if you like. I am so extremely grateful you showed up today to this place, to this masterclass. It was a journey, and I am so grateful for you opening up and sharing so much in the chat. Right now has come my favorite moment for the Q&A. You can ask your questions in the chat if there are. I'll ask several of them. You can ask anything about your relationship, also regarding the program. I'm eager to see what is moving you and how can I serve you. Let's see. Give me a second to see what's coming. There is a question. We're in a turbulent phase right now. And I'm watching this webinar alone. Can we receive the recording? Yes, so you can see this together with your partner. The answer is yes. How do you keep the intimacy high in a family with 3 children in different stages of life, 14 years, 8 years, and a baby? It's crazy. I would like my partner also to attend to this webinar. When will this webinar? Okay, that's a good question. How to keep the intimacy alive when you have 3 children? I've been there, believe me. It is hard work. On one hand, because your agenda and a baby demands everything from you, you know that already. But on the other hand, because physically you're exhausted. Now, the things which saved us was to really, this love date calendar actually was born in this phase of desperateness. We had to create time for ourselves, separate from each other and together. So there in the date calendar is very well explained. Separate time so I can come to myself and gain energy and find myself again, because what intimacy could it be there if there is nobody here, right? If there's nobody at home, where is my partner can't find me? So investing in yourself, time for yourself. For me, it was, I know how hard it is with a baby, starting small. 2 hours for a coffee, 3 hours with a friend, 4 hours walking, stay overnight when the baby is a little bit older. This is it. Your time is limited, but you need consistency, because once in 6 months is not enough. You grant yourself that, and you grant this your partner. And then you connect and really use grandma, hopefully they're grandma and grandpa. I didn't had one. We didn't had the privilege here yet back then. So what we did is we used babysitters. We used babysitters to date, and we stretched the dates. The older the children became, the dates became a priority and bigger. But my advice here is start small, but consistently, and put it in your agendas as a priority. It is as important, because if you are exhausted and your intimacy goes down, your frustrations will go up, and who's going to suffer? Your children. Eventually, knowing that you're doing this for you, your children benefit also from it. If mama and papa are happy, there is no better safe haven for your children, believe me. So invest in yourself in small bits is really, really, really important. Okay, just let me see. What if you are the only one doing the work? That's a very good question. Yeah, then you are doing the work. And this is how we influence each other. Do I have an elastic band here? No. When we are in a relationship, we influence each other. And when I'm the only one doing the work, if I change things, if I understand how the patterns between us work, then I influence my partner one way or another. You always influence each other. But imagine that your partner discovers that you are all of a sudden more energetic, that you're more lovable, that you all of a sudden offer them the space to be who they are, that you all of a sudden invite them to a date or give them a compliment out of the blue. Wouldn't your partner feel that? Of course, he or she will. Of course. And they'll get curious and they'll start asking questions. And now, when you gained this knowledge, when you're doing the work, you gain knowledge. And when you apply this knowledge, all of a sudden now you know how to open the gate of the unspoken. And you can hold the space for your partner to speak their truth. And at that moment, what happens is connection. And when your partner feels connected to you and not blamed, why you're never there, why am I the only one who does the work, why am I the only one who dares to do these things? This is blame, 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 blame. So I shut down, or I run, or I react right away, or I get rational. You don't want that. You want to know how to open up the space for your partner to be themselves and then invite them in a loving way. It's not a trick. It's a tool. I really hope that you sense that one, because we do influence our partner. And when one does the work, the whole relationship can change. More. Okay, thank you very much. Really excited to do it, but not alone. Maybe my husband will open for this. We're living together for 30 years. And we have two girls, and we work hard, especially for our company and forget each other. There you go. But first, I start next week with a training. Uh, Fana, can you only think? Okay, it's great that you're investing in yourself. This is the very important thing. The very important thing. Invest in yourself. Understand how these patterns works, and then your partner will follow. When there is no blame and shame, and only love, then there is no other but them feeling invited to join you. Does this course also work after having a long-term affair outside the marriage? My question will be, are you back in your marriage right now? And if yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because what this course provides you is really the tools to gain the knowledge on how patterns works. Why affair? What was the missing thing between the two of you in order for a affair to happen? What were you or your partner searching out of the relationship? These are really fundamental questions. And when you have the knowledge about them, you can transform now the relationship. You can work on it. You can gain the knowledge you lost. So yes, because we work on patterns. Okay. Thank you very much. The last one. Hi, Manuela. How can I deal with my need for deeper connection? We live apart. Video calling, phone calling. So where we are not together, it's so shallow for me. Well, this is a good one because if it is so important for you, you have to make it a priority, I would say. Is your relationship a priority? On one hand, you will ask your partner to stretch and to come there for you and be there for you. On the other hand, this sense of lonesomeness, you want to investigate where actually it's coming from. Is it coming from because we're in a distance and that makes me insecure and now I start doubting my worth? Or is it something else which has been triggered from our childhood and we carry still on, we have to work on? On one hand, what are your values? How long are you planning to do that? Are there children involved? These are important things. So your core values are very important here. If your partner's core values are travel the world, being in a distance, and having more free life, and you want togetherness, you want family, you want children, you want roots, then you know that your core values are not matching. And you can have a beautiful love affair, but not a stable long-term relationship. So your core values are very important here. This is something we talk about in the Love Quest. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. I think it's time to wrap up. We are a little bit over time. It's been an honor to spend this time together in this 1.5 hour. Wonderful to hear from you in the chat. I really, truly hope to meet you and see how you're doing somewhere, somehow. Until then, keep safe, stay investing in yourself, in your relationships, and no, they're not a mystery, they're a mastery. See you.